That's right, tonight is the night we are building a Borough of Bastian using a book called Electric Bastionland, which I'm gathering you're all familiar with by this point. But this is like the second highest request that I get for like a video. Is number one request was to do an actual play, which I've done. I do plan on doing some more, but I've checked that one off for now. So the second most popular request for the stream was to create a borough of Bastian, to use this mapping procedure that's in the book and just to demonstrate how I would do it. Now, you don't need me to tell you this because I've said this every single week, but your Bastian is just as valid as my Bastian, and your world is going to reflect different things than what my world is going to reflect. And that's the point of the setting, is that it should reflect the creator to some extent, and the creator can be you. So I'm going to demonstrate how I would do it, but this is by no means a canonical here is Bastian experience. I'm going to go through it and I'm going to try and stick as close as I can to the procedure in the book, just to sort of demonstrate how that works. And if anybody has any questions or queries or general comments, throw them in the chat. I will be trying to reply. I'm going to be calling on the chat for some ideas if I start to run out of them. I've deliberately done like zero prep for this, which I thought was it was something so I could demonstrate how straightforward this process is, and how you don't need to prepare for your prep, like double prep. You can just sit down with the book and you can create a borough. But now I'm starting to regret that a little bit, because I'm feeling a little bit nervous now. I feel like the pressure's on. But I will be asking for some help as we go through, and some guidance from you guys. And also, if you're in the chat, just say hi, because it's always good to see who's around. So, Bastian. We know Bastian, and what we are doing is this. So we are mapping Bastian today. We're going to create a borough, and I'm not going to sit and read the whole page, but I am going to kind of work through the procedure as we go. But one of the things I'm going to try and do here is something that I think is quite important, and something that I think it's easy to overlook. It's this little section here that says, write as many of your notes directly onto the map as you can manage, keeping only overflow information on a separate sheet. So we have got here, we've got a nice blank page that we are going to use, and this is going to make a kind of one page borough, if you like. We're not going to have an external document. We're going to keep it quite broad strokes, but we're going to try and fit everything on this one sheet of paper. We're going to imagine this is like an A3 piece of paper that's laid out in front of us. Hi to Rithuan, Osotaki, Astral Disasters. I'm going to butcher this name, I'm so sorry. But, Makai? I'm extremely sorry for my lack of linguistic expertise. Okay. So, the first step, routes. So it's all about routes. I don't care about streets or alleyways in that kind of fine detail. What matters is, what are the landmarks in this borough and how do you get between them? And in fact, the getting between them is in many ways more important than the landmarks themselves in some cases, for a city adventure certainly. So we're going to use two different colours. We're going to keep it simple. We're not going to be. You can use more, but it says using different colours, draw two or more circuits denoting different transport routes, ensuring that they cross over each other. I'm asking the chat for what the second transport route is going to be. My first transport route is going to be a canal, because I am extremely biased towards canals, but you can choose the second transport route. So yeah, it could be a walkway, tramway, canal, cable car, other type of route. Surprise me, because I feel like I do use canals a lot, but I do think they are pretty cool. So let me get my canal. Also, this is software that I've downloaded like this week, so please be forgiving. So it's a circuit. Okay, so we're gonna have our canal like over this side. It's gonna go whoop, 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 and whoop. Yeah, please be forgiving that I'm terrible with this software. I'm still learning the ropes of it, but you know, this will be a good experience. So let's close this circuit off, if that's a thing I can do. Okay, that's good enough. It's gonna look crap, I can tell you this now. This is not gonna come out looking beautiful. So we've got in the chat. In fact, let me write down before I forget down here. Let me put a little note here saying, I've even got the official. Oh, you can't see down here. Let me move myself for a second. Got the official Bastionland font typeface, Gil Sans MT. So we'll have Canal, and I'll do a little line here to show that blue is the Canal. So yeah, just acclimatize yourself with this level of presentation, because this is what we're going for. Yeah, this. It's going to look a bit crap. I think out of all of these ones here, Zipwire by Dog in a Pond is one that I've not heard before. Am I wrong in like thinking that Zipwire would be like one way? But I guess it could be like those kind of it could be like those. Ooh, that's not what I want to do. In fact, yeah, yes, I should. I will save this afterwards so we don't lose it. In fact, bear with me. Let's have an intermission while I save this file and make sure that I've got it somewhere safe. Okay. We're back. So yeah, Zipwire is cool. Let's make Zipwire work. So I'm imagining that we've got the canal sort of below, and then the Zipwire being the main kind of footway through it. So I guess this is kind of a borough without roads or without paths, which raises some interesting questions as to why that might be the case. But yeah, Zipwire. So for the Zipwire, we'll go for the opposite of blue. Go for this nice kind of muddy yellow, and let's reacquaint ourselves with the guidance. So draw 2 or more circuits, ensuring they cross over each other. So our Zipwire is going to be more like a square. There we go. This is going to bug me that these don't like connect properly, but we can there we go. This software ain't so tough. And then add at least one branch off each in a different color if you wish. Okay, so we're gonna be bold, and we are gonna have 2 more different transport routes. So let's just make our little note down here. So we've got a canal, Zipwire. I'll be releasing this borough for the low price of £40 on itch.io after this. And I'm gonna. It's a shame that the Ennies nominations are already being decided, because I feel like this could be potential best cartography. It's a category that I feel like I stood a good chance. Oh, Rithwan, the software is Affinity Designer. So I used Affinity Publisher to lay out Electric Bastionland with varying levels of success. But that was my kind of learning process, was making that book. So I am now working on some other things, and I picked up the designer as well. And so far, I don't know anything. I'm not an expert at all in these software, as you can see, in like graphic design, but so far it seems pretty straightforward, pretty useful, pretty handy. I'm a fan. Bicycle route. Yeah, like a bike path. Let's have that. So we'll put the bicycle route up the top, coming off the Zipwire. That's okay. So here's my train of thought. I think no, having the bicycle path connect to the Zipwire is stupid, because are people going to have to like carry their bike on the Zipwire if they exchange? But this is Bastian, so of course that's how it's laid out. The bike path can be this lovely shade of fuchsia. And we're just going to have a little shoop, shoop, zigzag up here. I'm going to run out of space down here. It's already going wrong, but let's do it. So, bike path. Oh, come on, doesn't like zip wire. Right, and then our last one, what was it? No, bicycle route is perfectly valid. Don't worry about that. But bike path is a bit more colloquial. What else have we got? Tramway, cable car, monorail. I feel like cable car feels like a good match for the zip wire. So naturally, it's not going to connect to the. In fact, yeah, let's connect it to the zip wire. So we'll have cable car. It's going to be whatever colour we have left. Why is that? Doesn't like that, does it? Here we go. Like green cable car. And that will connect to that. Let's give it a little bit of a bend at least. Yeah, so they can be like curves if you want. There we go. That's horrible. Look at that. This is even worse than I imagined it was going to look. But this is about the content. You can make it look awful. You don't have to be an artist. I'm certainly not, as you can tell. No, we can do better. There we go. So, okay, that's our routes sorted. We've got a cable car, we've got a canal, we've got a zip wire, and we have a bike path. So, Electric Bastionland, tell me what next. Label each different colour. Yeah, okay, we've done that. And then landmarks. Place a dot at each point where the routes cross, branch, bend, and end. So, let's go full tube map and make a little circle here. There we go, beautiful. So we're going to put these little things where they bend, end, or like connect to each other. Now, there's lots of cases where you could say like, is that a bend? Well, I'm here to tell you it is up to you to make that decision. Look at this, looking great already. And if you sort of find that you haven't got enough nodes, and I can tell you now we're going to have plenty because I think we want to keep it simple. But if you find you haven't got enough and you wish there were more, just put them on there. Like, you don't need my permission to make the map more detailed. You'll just have more content. So I reckon that is about it. Let's double check. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We've got like 16 little nodes there as our kind of points of interest or landmarks. So let's see what's next. So, name each after a landmark, such as a park or a monument, and note down what might be nearby, such as high-end shops or factory slums. Now, what I tend to do myself is I like it if you can do both those things in one phrase. So if you can create a name of a place, and it's an evocative name, it will tell you whether it's factory slums or high-end shops without me then having to say underneath, like in brackets, like yes, this is a posh shopping area. If you come up with a good name, you don't have to do that, but that's a lot of pressure to put on myself tonight. So we may do it, we may not, on different nodes. And then we'll get to the next step. Let's name some nodes. So okay, so I'm looking at this and I'm like immediately panicking because I'm like, okay, blank slate. I've got no idea what am I calling these. Like, I guess a park, a shop, No, you're going to use... You need a spark. And if only there was a... here we go. So we've got a spark table here. Yeah, you kind of pointed out in chat that the pen tool should work better for making straight lines. Yeah, but, you know, this is Bastian, isn't it? Like, that's... Yeah, okay. It would look better if it had straight lines. But I'm now saying this is like the new modern style of Bastian. Straight lines are like old-fashioned. Like modern cartography in Bastian has a kind of infantile appearance. It's a stylistic choice, of course. So we've got a few different ways that we can get sparks into the borough. One thing I wanted to do first, which isn't actually in the procedure, is I'd like to give the borough a name before we do any of this, and maybe like an overall theme. So you could just roll on the spark table, combine the results, and that would give you like the theme for the borough. But I prefer, let me hide myself for this so you can see. Hide. Conduct, in this section there are these touchstones. So these are like hot topics of the minute. These are the things that in Bastian you might see a headline talking about. If Twitter was in Bastian, these would be where the hot takes were coming from. These topics here. So I'm going to roll a d8 and a d4, and that's going to give me a sort of a larger category, and it's going to give me a sort of specific issue as well. And hopefully that's going to give me something to work with as an overall theme. So I've got 5 and 4. So academia is the overall theme, and personal rivalries within academia. Okay. So that gives me a pretty nice idea already for like a conflict in this borough. So I'm thinking like rival universities. So let's go straight away, and we'll come back to the name. In fact, yeah, let's do the name first. So a name for a borough that has kind of rival universities at each other's throats. We're going to call this. Any suggestions in the chat? I'm already flat out of ideas. A name for a borough that has like two warring universities. Let's think. So a really obvious and lame way to go. The discourse, done. Thank you, Oso Taki. I like it. I like it because it fits, but it also sounds like it could just be the name of this geographical area. Like it works. So the discourse. I'm going to get rid of that because I think space is going to be at a premium in here. Boom. So that naturally suggests we're going to have two universities in here, and we're going to pick two of these to be, let's say the two furthest apart are going to be the two universities. In fact, let's say the two ends of like the branches here are going to be the universities. So we won't spend this much time on all of them, but let's do a spark roll for the first of the universities. So I roll 2d20, 7 and 16. Wild crowd. So wild and crowd for a university. I'm guessing this just sounds like it's like a huge party college and it's like a front. There's no like academia going on at all. It's just like an absolute mess. And in fact, we're going to go with that. We're going to call it let's get back to let's not do small caps across the whole thing. That would be the act of a madman. So let's call this one mess hall. I guess like the mess hall is where you eat, but so I'm just going to put party college. Now you might think that's a little bit too casual here, just straight up, but remember this map is your prep, this is your notes, so it won't say this on like the sign when the players walk in. It's just there to remind you of what's inside. So you could put multiple things in here. You could have it's party college. We had wild, didn't we? So let's say it's got extensive grounds and there's just like sports happening everywhere. So I'm imagining like a big university that's in the middle of like a sort of forested park, and you can like, even when you're walking up to the university, there's like people with clubs hitting balls all over the place, and people riding around on horses. So yeah, that's mess hall. There we go, we'll bold that. Now that's quite big on the map. We're not going to be able to do that everywhere, but it's good to pick a few like key locations to have it in a bit more detail, and then I like to keep it light on the other areas. So there's two ways you can go with this. The obvious thing to do would be to just pick a university that's the polar opposite of mess hall and create that, and you could do that, and we might do that, but I am going to do another spark roll because you might get something unexpected. So I've got 9 and 17. Prototype debt. Okay, so it's an engineering school, obviously. Debt. Maybe it's like, so I'm trying to think of something that makes no sense but kind of makes sense in Bastian. Like maybe if you're in debt, you go to this university to like develop prototypes. So people will go there to get like their certificate in engineering, but a lot of people just die because you run it, you're just constantly making prototype machinery, and it's like super dangerous. So we're going to call this I want to call it something like the proving grounds. What the fulcrum, is that even a thing? What's the word I'm after? The crucible, not the famous snooker location in the UK, but you know, this is like where new stuff's being forged. So engineering school. Pay your debts by testing prototypes. Let's put our notes in brackets like that. Okay, cool. So we've got our two like academic rivals that our touchstones spat out. Yeah, Fizding says Debtors College, at least it isn't technically prison. I think that's probably like their logo, their slogan. It's written in like old, the equivalent of Latin. Cool. So let me remind myself. So the cable car is going to mess hall. So the cable car is going like over these woods to get here. It's a bike path. The bike path to the engineering school works really well. I like that they all have these kind of prototype electric bikes, and they're just like constantly breaking down. So already, if this is like the path up to the engineering school, this is why I like using this kind of method, because already I'm getting ideas for like what's at this point, because it's like what would exist here outside of the engineering school and what would exist here outside of the mess hall. But we're not gonna go straight into that because we've got like 14 other ones to fill in, and if I spend as much time on all of them, we'll be here all night. So instead, we're gonna smash through them super quick. We're gonna start with, I like to start with like these sort of joining ones, because in some ways they're the easiest. They're not gonna be the easiest to write on because I've got like a right tiny little gap here. So we'll get a little bit creative, But yeah, let's do some more spark tables. So 5 and 10. Fat music. So sometimes all you need to do is write Fatty's bar. Now, I'm not going to do anything else with this. I'm just going to put that there. And if the players want to go there, I can make up what Fatty's bar is. Who's Fatty? Is he a person, or is it like is it just the name of the area? So this is just like this is like a spark that you will improvise in the game. I often find myself, you come up with some quite interesting ideas, and also like it draws on where the players have been. So if the players have been to other areas, when you get to Fatty's bar, you've got a bit of freedom to sort of draw on their experiences so far in what's there, if that makes sense. So yeah, there we go. Let's do some more. So spark tables 4 and 18. Bombed chimney. We'll put this like at one of these. So you could almost just put that, but we'll put collapsed chimney stacks. We'll put them there. And then when we've got, so these are going to be quite broad purely because I haven't got much room to write. But when we get to some of these more open ones, I'll show how we can sort of fill them out a bit. Let's, I think we're going to have a bit of a space issue here. Collapsed chimney stacks. Another one, please. 4 and 3. Bombed art. So we've already had bombed, so I'm going to swap my 4 and my 3 around to get smoked canal. So this is here. So this is where the canal meets the zip wire. So I'm literally just going to give this a stupid name and call it smoke on the water. And what is this the name of a bar? Is it literally that there is a smoky patch of water? Listen, it pains me that I have to put it over the line like this, but I think I'm going to have to. Who knows? We'll get to that. And then let's just fill out some of these more tight ones. We've got 12 and 14. Murder University. Okay. So we already have our 2 colleges. There's no reason why we couldn't have a third. And that actually makes it quite interesting from a sort of rivalry point of view. It's quite nice having like the balance of power between 3 factions. So Murder University, you've got a really obvious way to go with that. An Assassin's University, I think, is a little bit too classic D&D, like Discworld-y fantasy pastiche. So instead, I'm thinking like a forensic school is a bit more modern. So like, for now, I'm just going to put forensic school. We'll come back to this. In fact, no, let's do it now because we've got a bit of space here. So forensic school is a nice idea. I'm a sucker for like your crime programs, like CSI style things. So I think you could draw on a lot of like, you could draw on a lot of cliches and tropes there that are fun to play around with. Fizding says, oh, ornithology school, murder of crows style. Well, you know what? I think I've inadvertently misread what you've said there because I thought you were saying like murder of crows, like they investigate crows that have been murdered. So we are going to run with that, and we're going to say, ornithocide? You know what? School of forensic. It doesn't like ornithocide, but I'm sticking with it. So yeah, they investigate bird murders, and there's definitely going to be at least one mock bird in there. Again, you could go the obvious way of like, is it going to suggest a? No, it's not. I mean, Do we want to limit it to murder? Because I feel like the whole thieving magpies thing is quite cool to deal with. So it could be that you're tracking down things that have been stolen by magpies. So I think just ornithological. Yeah, School of Ornithological Forensics. See, I love it, and I would not have thought of that on my own. That is a combination of Spark tables and the chat. Thank you for that. And never underestimate the power of misreading something or misremembering something. The problem is, a lot of people that write these games and write adventure modules, they know a lot about history. And I know a little bit about things, but I don't know a lot. And my accuracy is very poor. I will learn things that I will later find out are incorrect completely. But often the incorrect thing is more interesting for making a stupid RPG adventure. It can cause bigger problems in the world, as I'm sure we can all imagine. But sometimes it's good to make mistakes when you're designing a borough. Okay, cool. We're getting there. What's this one here? Let's do some rolling. 19 and 17. Overgrown debt. So we've had debt, so let's just lean into this overgrown. So here I would just put when I hear water and I think overgrown, I'm transported to like Splash Mountain at like Disney World, where you kind of, it's like a log flume that goes down into this big briar patch. So I'm literally just going to steal that, and I'm going to have like a briar patch in the middle of the city, and I'm not going to give it any more information. But yeah, if I get to that, I'm imagining it's literally the canal has like a log flume section, and there's like a mock rabbit and a mock bear and a mock fox having adventures in there. It's stupid, but I don't care. So next, 14 and 2, glass factory. So again, there's such an obvious thing to do here. You say, oh, it's the glass factory. Welcome to the glass factory. I'm Mr. Glass, and I'll be taking you around the glass factory. We can do better. The glass eye factory. That sounds like it's got hijinks potential. But something that we haven't been remembering here. So Bastian has a little something, which I'm currently hiding. Here we go. Called the triple rule. Everything has 3 purposes. What was it originally, what's it doing now, and what's its secondary use. So I don't think we necessarily care what the glass eye factory was meant to be before. We could do. So what could it have been? Come on chat, help me out. You can tell me what the glass eye factory was previously, and I'm going to think of like a secondary function for it at the moment. So in general, I try and say that every building in Bastion has a residential, commercial, and industrial. Hang on, there's more than I've thought of here. So it has at least 3 of residential, industrial, commercial, and civic use. So I think we know that its industrial use is a factory. Residential, it's very easy to just say like people live in the factory. But I wonder whether we can go further than this. So if it's making glass eyes, you make glass from sand. So it actually has a luxury artificial beach. So you can sit in the shadow of a smoky factory churning out glass eyes, and enjoy an approximation of a sandy beach right here in Bastion, right next to the canal. Marble factory, crystal ball factory, yeah, these are good secondary uses. But it's still like just another type of factory. So we've got to think more different than that. Use ball bearing collector clubhouse. So actually, I'm going to go on a combination here. So Laughing Coyote said marble factory. Golden Valley Griffin said ball bearing collectors clubhouse. Let's say there's this is, I don't know why I didn't think of it earlier, with luxury artificial beach and marble arena for marble races, marble games. If you want to play marbles, go to the Glass Eye Factory. It's such a natural crossover. Okay, thank you for that. And Fizding said the canal dredgings are all sorted and filtered here. So this is the beauty of it, is as you work your way, as your players are kind of exploring the borough, these ideas might come to you as you go, and you can sort of add to them as you play the game. I've always been in the book, I always try and make it clear that the conductor is a player, and you should be having fun, and you should be coming up with stuff on the spot, and you shouldn't feel like you're like just about holding everything together and everything's stressful and it's like a finely tuned machine and you've got to keep everything running perfectly. It should feel more like you're, if you imagine like an orchestra conductor, but like a band leader for like an improv band, so you can suddenly decide to give someone a solo, or you can suddenly decide to pick up the pace or slow things down and cut down to just the drums. You're sort of mixing things in and out as you go. You are a part of this. The process is part of the game. So make sure you enjoy it and do it with the other people that are at the table. So we've got a couple more. How many more on the canal? We've got 1, 2, 3. 3 more canal spots. 15 and 3. Dirty art. Oh, wow. There's only one way this can go. We're going to call this the saucy. Now I'm going to show my lack of being able to spell. Mural? Is that how you'd spell mural? Like a mural on the wall? We're going to leave this as a nice broad stroke. So there's a saucy mural that you can go past, painted on a wall. And then what's up here? 15 and 20. We keep getting dirty. Dirty Tonic. So is this like what passes for a red light district on this canal? So Dirty Tonic. I'm just going to call it the Dirt Tonic shop. But I'm thinking like, so obviously tonic water was kind of invented. Again, this may be absolute bullshit, but my understanding of tonic water is it was created so that British troops in India in like the 19th century could avoid getting malaria because of the quinine in the tonic. I'm not a chemist, so I can't explain how that works, but it's the quinine in the tonic is served as a sort of had medicinal properties that helped the environment that they were in. So I think we could take that to the extreme and say like there's some kind of botanical you can add to like canal water that makes it so that you're not, it almost makes the dirt like good for you. Yeah, so Golden Valley Griffin has basically said what I'm trying to describe here. Trendy healthy drinks made from canal dregs. So yeah, dregs is a good, so we're going to call it Dreg Tonic. Dreg Tonic. And shop is like a boring way of doing it. So it's going to be a Dreg Tonic joint. So you can go in and you can talk to some people in there. So, and let's think, what's its secondary purpose? Maybe this is like also the water treatment plant. No, or like the canal. Oh, what's the word? I obviously don't understand how canals work, but like if I just put canal machinery, I like the idea that it's obviously like the water's being filtered somehow for the benefit of the canal, and all the dregs are going into this tonic that people are then drinking. Cool. Got another one over. Did I not? Here we go. That's better. Last spot on the canal. Let's do this. 11 and 17. Paper debt. I keep getting debt. We're going to skip that. We're going to go crowd. Paper crowd. Paper and crowd. So I'm thinking like a newspaper that would be appealing to the masses, like a kind of populist newspaper. Depressingly real in the UK right now. But let's call it, yeah, we'll just call it the RAG. The RAG press office. So this is like a sensationalist newspaper that just is designed to like stir up anger. And then what would be a good contrast to that? Maybe it is, so it's on the canal. What would kind of make sense to be next to a newspaper press office? So they'd want to have like good transport links. So I guess like this is like where the boats get repaired, maybe. So the RAG press off, because so maybe they get like all their news from the canal boats that are coming in and getting repaired. Office and boat repair. I used to work at a pub this is when I was like 18. One of the first jobs I had was working in a pub at a canal junction. So as far as I'm aware, canals basically exist nowadays in the UK to connect various pubs together. And I worked in one of these pubs, and the amount of times that I got told off by locals and visiting patrons because I would refer to their boat as a barge, a canal barge. It's not a canal barge, it's a narrow boat, I was told in increasingly stern tones. So now I would never make the mistake of calling it a barge again. So we're going to call it boat repair. And this is all getting a bit messy, so we're just going to, we just need the title in bold. So let's keep it simple. Okay, cool. Oh no, we missed this little bit here. So this is like the cable car going, cable car going up through Woodland towards the university. Let's do a roll. 3 and 18. Smoked chimney. So you might be thinking now that I am demonstrating one of the flaws with this Spark table. And that is, I'm rolling duplicate results. And that's true, I am. There are two answers to that. The first answer is you are absolutely within your rights to make your own Spark tables. It's incredibly easy. And if you've got an idea for a specific feel for your borough, then absolutely make your own Spark table. But these words were kind of, I tried to pick words that had multiple meanings and multiple interpretations. So there are some that are very specific, like pastry. There's not many ways you can go with that. But a lot of them are kind of like dirty. We've used dirty twice in 2 different ways. They're meant to feel like, so that when you combine them in different ways, you get different combinations have different meanings. So that even if you get duplicates, it's not going to necessarily be the same. So smoked chimney, was it? We've had a collapsed chimney. We've got this smoke on the water, which we haven't yet defined. So smoked chimney. You know what? With it being in the forest, I think if we just call it. So I'm thinking smoked as like actually burnt down. And I'm going to take the chimney. You know what? Sometimes you get a combination and you can force it and you can go through and you can power through, but you should never be afraid to say, I don't like this combination, I'm going to re-roll it. So I'm going to re-roll this because I don't like it. 15 and 19. Dirty heap. Dirty again. Come on. So what do you put next to a university? A laundrette. Students cannot do their own washing, if we're believing the cliche. I used to find doing washing in a sort of communal laundrette at university incredibly stressful. The idea that somebody would steal my clothes. I don't know why I would think that anybody would want to steal my clothes, but it still sticks with me to this day. When I get to use my own washing machine in my own house, I sort of thank how kind life has been to me that I don't have to worry about people stealing my clothes anymore. The laundry heap. So yeah, it's a laundrette, and it's also someone said earlier a greasy spoon cafe. I like that, and it makes sense next to a university. So cafe and laundrette. I think that's not at all how you spell laundrette. There we go. So I like that Fatty's Bar you would think would be like a greasy spoon cafe, but I kind of like that if we're leaning into this rivalry theme, maybe it is. Maybe the laundry heap is like the inferior cafe, but they will also do your laundry while you're there, whereas Fatty's Bar has like the best bacon sandwiches and fried egg, but you're actually going to come out dirtier than you went in just because of the stink of the grease. So it's the eternal decision here for the students. Do they go somewhere where they can get their clothes cleaned, or do they go for the best breakfast? Yeah, oh so tacky. The worst part about community laundry is folks leaving their wet clothes in the machine for a day and getting pissy when you take out their stuff and put it in a hamper. Yeah, well, you would have loved sharing a laundrette with me, because I was there waiting like 5 minutes before my machine was done. I was there ready to take my clothes back, so we'd have been just fine. Okay, cool. So that side is done. What time are we on? It is 10 to 10. We are probably going to overrun. You know what? I think we've demonstrated some pretty good stuff. So let's smash through these last few nodes here. We are not going to keep using the spark table, because what I wanted to do for the second half was I talked big about how these failed careers are all full of ideas. So now maybe I should actually put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to go roll and get a random one. Small town refugee. So this page is going to be our inspiration. So let me hide myself, because I can see straight away a good source of things for boroughs is always the debt holders. So Lucky Mascot Limited. I'm on board. It's already great. So we're going to put that down here. A place where people can buy themselves an animal mascot. Easy. Let's keep rolling. Amateur dramatist. Okay, so an amateur theatre. We're going to call it the Egg, because it's meant to be like in the round, but they didn't build it quite right. So it's a theatre and hospital, because it's always good to have a hospital. So yeah, you could go into the whole theatre pun, double meaning of theatre, like maybe it's a surgery. But yeah, the Egg, theatre and hospital. We've got two more here. Let's roll and stop. Street performer. I'm not going to use all debt holders, because I want to sort of use some different things. So what was your act? So the thing this is the zip wire we need to remember. So you have to zip wire to get to the hospital. That's pretty ridiculous, but that's fine. You also have to zip wire to Lucky Mascot. So if you're buying like a donkey from the Lucky Mascot shop, you have to then get the donkey on the zip wire. Okay. I think stilt acrobatics, that connects too well with the zip wire. So we're going to do that. We're going to put stilt school. Not school, that's no good. I don't like the word guild because it just makes me think of... I love Discworld, but it makes me think of like your bog standard fantasy like world. So I don't normally like it. So yeah, okay, let's... Union is clearly the more Bastian word. So the Stilters Union is there. So anyone who uses stilts as part of their job, they're a member of that union. And then the very last one, let's go a bit further up. Oh, we got a question. Rithuan, how much of your notes would you share with your players? So far, I would share all of it. You know what? I'll talk about that once I've finished the map. But I think I'm kind of a similar thought to you. Like, you could just put this map out in front of the players because there's not much. Maybe I would like do a version that just had the names, just so there's a bit of surprise, so that when they get to, let's look what we got. So when they get to the egg, if it just says the egg, they've got to ask around and say, look, what's the egg? Or they might be asking someone, where's the nearest hospital? And they hear, oh, you want to go to the egg, that's the hospital. And then when they get there and it's also a theatre, it's a nice little surprise. So I would be tempted. There's no harm to be done by giving them the full map, but I'd hide the little twists just because I think it's a bit more interesting to have them kind of ask around to find useful places and for them to try and work out like what is smoke on the water. And in this case, we don't know. We'll have to work that out for ourselves as we go. So the noble in waiting. Okay, cool. So if we got like a theme of like aristocracy, then maybe this school is like owned or funded by like a kind of a remnant of like aristocracy in Bastion. So it's like a mansion. So I'm just gonna put mansion for now, and then let's have a look in here. So let's use one of these as a kind of I like the enactor of Disc Cave. Take a fancy spike rod that's also a periscope. So that kind of fits the engineering theme. So we're just going to take this character. We're just going to have the enactor of Disc Cave. Let's go manor. That's a bit of a better word. You know what? I'm just going to go full on and say palace. Why not? So the enactor of Disc Cave's palace. So we've got like a kind of... You're kind of having to go past a very noble palace to get to the school. And you can just take this because chances are they're not going to get this background. And if they do, then what do? Do you say, oh, no, you should re-roll that because we've already got the enactor of Disc Cave? Well, no, because that's the title that you are due to inherit. So the fact that there is the current enactor of Disc Cave in this adventure is actually awesome because now you know that's what you could inherit. You can see this palace right there. So there we go. Boom. That is our borough with our nodes, but we're not done yet. Let's speed it up because I want to get this finished. So let's get back to Bastian. Oh, I'm hidden. There we go. So what we have now is we're going to have to put complications between each of these routes. So let me just see how it's phrased. For each path between landmarks, detail a complication. So complications can be simple, like a toll or a heavy traffic. And they can be complex, such as hostile environment to navigate or something to lure the group off course. They should always show off the character of Bastian and your borough. So there's a lot of gaps there. We are not going to put a complication in all of them, just for the sake of this video not being an eternity. We're going to use this nice deep maroon colour for our complications, and we're going to put them on these long stretches here. So it can be dead simple. You can have broken zip line. There, you can have. So that's the Stilters Union. I might just draw on that and put stilt wearing taxmen, or like tollmen. Tollers? I don't know what the word is for someone that takes a toll. So pass through here, these guys wearing stilts are going to come and ask you for some money. And over here, this could be more complicated. So this could just be something that, let's think of something that could like draw people off course. So the zip wire has to be going over something. So maybe here, the thing that could draw them off course is it's actually going over like a ruined, over like some ruins of like the old town. So it's a complication because I guess you might get drawn down into it. To be honest, this complications thing here, they can be tougher to write than the landmarks in many ways. I would always lean on keeping these on the side of simple and broad, because otherwise it can just get a little bit too much. So here, let's just have, it's next to smoke on the water, so we'll just have fire. It can be as simple as that. So when you pass through there, it might be that you're going past the house that's on fire. Do you go and help them, or do you just leave them? Or it could be that they're like, the whole area that you're passing by over in the zip wire is on fire. And then let's do some of these water ones as well. So here we already know what this one is. We put dense woods for this complication. What would be a good complication for between the tonic joint and the rag? So if this tonic joint is like kind of a hipster place, we're just going to put like hipster traffic. You can't. There's like a big queue. Saucy mural. So we're going to have people that maybe want to. They don't want you to see the mural. So we'll call them. It's a crude blockade. They don't want you to go and see this painting that someone's put up. And then let's do like one more. So what was this one? Okay, this is the bike path. So here we'll just put, we said about broken down students. So they're all driving these like electric bikes and they just keep braking. We'll put them down here. So they're a little bit further away from the university. There we go. So you could fill in every little gap, but I'm not going to. Now, if the group want to get between two landmarks by a different route, there's always a dark alleyway or inconvenient shortcut. So, if you are at the School of Ornithological Forensics and you want to get to the Lucky Mascots shop, ordinarily you'd have to go via smoke on the water, through the fire, via the egg, over the broken zip line, and you're there. But there is definitely a way to get there. But when the players ask that, it's up to you to think of something dangerous. And I think we might do another one of these for like Deep Country, because Deep Country is a little bit different. But the way that Deep Country handles it, you can kind of steal that for Bastian a bit, where you take each kind of area, so this like circle here, and you just define roughly what's in there. So it could just be that it's like dead dangerous, like it's just full of crime. Or it could be that it's full of wild animals, or it could be that it's literally like a lake and you'd have to like get a boat over it. But other than that, I think, let me just double check. So that is basically our borough. And then you can go through this whole stocking thing. So you should probably put some treasure somewhere, but this is more about like, you could use this for multiple adventures. So I could say, okay, I'm going to start my players off at the Lucky Mascot shop because it's stupid and I want them to start there. And I could just tell them that rather than rolling a normal debt holder, your debt has been shared between the Mess Hall College and the Crucible College. And if you can convince one of the schools to, if you convince them both to like waive your debt, you might not even need to go on like a dangerous treasure hunt. So in that point, it becomes like a bit of a city crawl where you're going over to each of the colleges and trying to like earn their favor. Or it could be that you're at one of the colleges and your debt will be paid off if you can like take down the other schools somehow. Or it could be that you are at, it might not even involve the colleges, they could just be there for flavour. It could be that you're getting your boat repaired at the Rag, and while you're getting your boat repaired, a news story comes in that there's treasure to be found in the Old Town ruins, or that there's like a bounty on the leader of the Prude blockade. So you could keep this for multiple different adventures, and then this bit here, this stocking Bastian, this is really like how you'd fine tune it for that particular adventure, especially the treasure bit. I always joke about how I forget to put treasure in things. So make sure that you give your players something they want and put it somewhere difficult. Astral Disasters asks, what font did you use for Bastian? Gil Sans MT, which is the font of the London Underground, I believe. Which is why, if you've been to London, this will look very familiar. I think that is used all the way through Electric Bastionland, for better or worse. It looks nice on certain things. There's certain like combinations of like letters that don't work very well. So it's like, I'm just going to rant about Gil now. When you have a full stop and A, so if I wanted to say like, this is a sentence, another sentence might look like this. This, when you have a full stop, yeah, I'm just going to rant about Gil. We're doing it. The full stop with a space and the A behaves kind of odd. Like it looks like a bit of a small gap. It looks like it should maybe be that big. It has some issues for a supposedly classic typeface, but I like it and I think it fits. So I will be taking this borough, shining it up, not very much at all. I'll be keeping its rough character. Do we want that underlined? Why not? I'll be keeping its slightly janky character and putting it on the blog with a few thoughts at some point this week. So this will become available, but I think I've just demonstrated that in 1 hour we've had a borough that could now be used for multiple different adventures. And best of all, like I've done this pretty slow because I've been stopping and explaining and talking and asking for ideas, but really you can do this a lot quicker. I've sat down at a table at a convention, and the people I was with, one of them said, oh, you should run Electric Bastionland, and I had like, this was a couple of years ago, I had a prototype version of the book. So I said, well, I haven't got anything prepared, but I can try. And they were like, great, we'll get some drinks in, and we'll come back and we'll play a game. And just by rolling on the spark tables and writing down what you get at each little node, you can get enough that it gives you something to improvise around when you're improvising a game. And it turned out all right. It wasn't the most complex, cohesive narrative of all time, but it was fun. So I will save that because we don't want to lose this precious creation. But I believe that is a borough complete. I'm very hazy. What's going on? We've got to get this. There we go. So that is how you make a borough, a bastion. I have not decided next week what I'm going to be doing on the stream. The two options that I have are, the obvious thing to do would be to do a tutorial of something else. So we've got, as we did Bastian, we've also got mapping deep country, which I could do. I would also like to do something around the inhabitants of Bastian section, so like making characters. But I might do a slight diversion and do something slightly off the wall next week. We'll see. I'll have a think. But I might do something that's related to like an inspiration for Bastian, and dig into a little something else. I'm going to decide about that. But at some point in the next few weeks, I will definitely get onto mapping deep country and mapping the underground. So I believe that we are finished almost on time for the first time ever. As usual, this will be going on YouTube in the next few days. I don't normally do this, but because it's the end of the month and I'm looking at end of month finances and things like that, I will plug my Patreon page. If you go to bastionland.com, there is a Patreon button somewhere on there, and you can support me on Patreon, which is much appreciated, because that's what pays for the blog posts. Basically, every time I post a blog post, you can chip in to help those happen, and to help me remember to make good blog posts rather than just throwing out absolute rubbish. So with that, I will see you all next week at the same time. This has been Bastionland Broadcast, signing off.